The neighborhood looked like the kind of place where nothing ever went wrong. Children rode their bikes in slow circles on the pavement. The sun dipped behind rows of neatly trimmed houses. Evenings arrived gently, like a habit everyone trusted. And in one of those houses lived a man everyone believed they understood. His name was Daniel Mercer. To his neighbors, he was quiet, polite, and dependable. The kind of man who nodded in greeting but never lingered too long in conversation. The kind of man who would say, "Good evening," while watering his plants at exactly 6 p.m. every day. Nothing about him raised suspicion. In fact, he was often described as safe. But safety, in that neighborhood, was an illusion waiting to collapse. Daniel Mercer lived alone. Every morning, he left his house at 6:30 a.m. Every evening, he returned precisely before sunset. Every Sunday, he attended a small local service, sitting in the same seat, offering the same faint smile. One neighbor once said, "He's the kind of man you don't really notice, but in a good way." Another added, "If I had to pick someone trustworthy on this street, it would be him." Daniel often helped others without being asked. One afternoon, a neighbor struggled with groceries, and Daniel calmly stepped in. "Let me help you with that," he said softly. "Oh, thank you," she replied. "No problem," he answered, already walking away before she could say more. He never overstayed his presence. Never asked personal questions. Never became memorable enough to raise concern. But behind closed doors, Daniel's world was something else entirely. What no one knew was that Daniel Mercer was always observing. From his front window, he studied the street like a map. He noticed when school buses arrived. He noticed when teenagers returned alone. He noticed which homes stayed empty the longest. And most importantly, he noticed patterns. To Daniel, people were not random. They were predictable. One evening, standing in his dimly lit kitchen, he whispered to himself, "Every system has gaps." Outside, the neighborhood continued living its normal life. Inside Daniel's mind, something far more calculated was taking shape. The first case did not cause alarm. A college student named Maya Collins was reported missing after evening classes. She probably just left town, someone said. Then came a delivery driver who never returned from his route. Then a teenage boy who had taken a shortcut through the neighborhood. Each case was treated separately. Each case faded into confusion. But Daniel Mercer remained nearby in all of them, sometimes seen walking, sometimes watering his plants, always appearing ordinary. One officer later admitted, "We had no reason to connect him to anything. He was just there." But just being there was exactly what made him invisible. Everything changed the night a young woman escaped. She stumbled onto a roadside, shaken and injured, barely able to speak. When officers reached her, she repeatedly said one thing. He knew I would be there." Detective Harris leaned closer. "Who knew?" Her voice trembled. The man from the neighborhood, he wasn't guessing. That was the first crack in the case. For the first time, investigators stopped treating the incidents as random. And they started looking for a pattern. Detectives reviewed hours of footage, reports, and witness statements. Slowly, something disturbing emerged. Daniel Mercer appeared in proximity to multiple incidents. Not directly involved. Not caught on suspicion. But always nearby. One investigator frowned at the map and said, "This isn't coincidence." Another replied, "Then what is it?" A long silence followed. Finally, Detective Harris said, "It's planning." The room went quiet. Because planning meant intent. And intent meant something far more dangerous than chance. A warrant was issued. When officers arrived at Daniel Mercer's home, he opened the door calmly. "Good evening," he said. Detective Harris stepped forward. "We need to ask you some questions." Daniel nodded. "Of course." Inside the house, everything looked normal at first glance. Too normal. But then officers found the room. Maps covered the walls. Dates written with precision. Photographs of strangers taken unknowingly. Notes tracking movements like schedules. One officer whispered, "This is organized, too organized." Behind a hidden panel, they found boxes carefully labeled. Not chaotic. Not emotional. Systematic. Like inventory. Detective Harris exhaled slowly. He's been doing this for years. Daniel Mercer was arrested without resistance. He sat quietly in the interrogation room, hands folded. Detective Harris placed a file on the table. "Do you know why you're here?" he asked. Daniel looked at him calmly. "You think you understand what happened?" "That's not an answer," Harris replied sharply. Daniel leaned back slightly. "People see patterns and assume meaning." Harris stared at him. "You think this is normal?" A faint pause. Then Daniel said softly, "I think it is necessary." That sentence changed everything in the room. Not confession. Just belief. As the investigation expanded, more evidence surfaced. More patterns. More victims. More years of unnoticed activity. Neighbors who once said he was harmless could no longer meet each other's eyes. One woman admitted through tears, "He used to help me carry groceries. I never imagined." Her voice broke. "I never imagined he was capable of anything like this." But that was the terrifying reality. He never looked dangerous. He looked familiar. The case of Daniel Mercer left behind more than legal records. It left behind a question that still unsettles everyone who hears it. How do you recognize danger when it looks like normal life? The truth is uncomfortable. Because sometimes, evil does not announce itself. It integrates itself. It becomes routine. It becomes polite. It becomes invisible. And by the time it is recognized, it may already be too late. Don't forget to like this video, share it with others, and subscribe for more chilling true crime stories from Noircase Production.